Hello, welcome to Nintendo Nostalgia, episode 151. I'm your host, Jacob Russ, and I'm joined by my co-host, Joshua Taylor, and we are back, and we are playing with power. You guys, it's not Ryan. Decided Josh was a better fit for the show after our anniversary episode, and Ryan's no longer a part of the show. It's just Josh and I, the rare boys, the Playtonic boys, moving forward. I'm just kidding. Ryan actually, he's pretty busy with some stuff right now, and he's getting in. I think he has a new job now, so settling into that. It's he's just needed a night off, and we're actually recording on our traditional day. It's a Tuesday today instead of a Monday, and no worries. So, but Ryan, Josh, and I are gonna do it justice here. We have a lot to talk about. We're really excited about this topic, and we can't preach it any better than Ryan. So actually, we can preach it a lot better than Ryan. That makes no sense because we are radical rexing about this game big time. But speaking of radical rexing, Josh, why don't we go ahead and get into that at hand here? So this is what we have been radical rexing about. And Josh, why don't you go first, man? What is exciting for you today?
All right, so to avoid the topic at hand for now, because I'm sure we'll get into that just plenty.
Yeah, we will.
I'd say from a gaming side especially, Luigi's Mansion 3 is definitely big on my list. It came out, what was it, 4 or 5 days ago. I haven't played it as much as I thought I would so far, just because I'm actually like kind of saving it for any time I'm around my wife or my kid, or both, preferably, because they both really seem to enjoy it, and I've got to take advantage of co-op. So instead of just kind of doing my own thing with it, I'm kind of making it a family thing. So just a different pace for me. It's making it last longer, so I'm cool with that. I like it. Let's see. Other than that, pretty normal stuff. I've been working an extra job, trying to get a couple extra bucks for this and that, and hopefully to put some even more towards the show and things like that in the future. And I think that is about it. Oh, I've actually been playing a lot of older games. I pulled out my Super Nintendo, GameCube. I've been jumping all over the place. Played a little Star Fox Adventures, Donkey Kong Country 2, of course.
Very nice.
And Mario Paint, which my mouse still surprisingly works very well. And I honestly haven't cleaned the inside of it, and who knows when. But
dang.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Messing around on a bunch of random stuff. Sometimes I get in that mode. Can't focus on one thing at a time.
Yeah, I understand that for sure. I'll go back to my statement, back it up from last week. You tell me you don't ever have time to play games, and yet you are able to pull out retro games on top of your current games. In game, I think you got more time than you lead on, my friend.
Now, my problem is that I'm hopping around so much. It's like 15 minutes later, I'm throwing in something else, and it's like
that's true. It's really hard to make progress on one game if you just hop back and forth between a bunch. That is very true.
Sounds like a lot.
Yeah, that's usually me at the Christmas time. I'll usually get like 1 or 2 games, and I'll bounce back and forth between them. So, gotta be patient with each of them and make some good progress. But, well, anything else besides that?
That's about all right now. Pretty normal stuff, seeing where some things are going. But that is all for now. Cool.
Myself, well, I did have my birthday party last weekend. Got some awesome stuff. Didn't have all my buds there. You weren't there. Ryan wasn't there. A couple of the other NOS crew guys weren't there. But we did have some guys be able to make it, and we had a fun time. We played games. I bought Castle Crashers with some of my eShop money. I got a couple eShop gift cards for my birthday from friends, and I also the big games stuff I got is obviously I bought Luigi's Mansion 3. Got with birthday money from my parents. Been playing that nonstop. Really, it's an amazing game. It's beautiful. It's so funny. It looks like a freaking animation movie, a CGI movie from the get go. I really, really like the game. It's definitely the best in the series from what I can say so far. I'm pretty deep. I'm about to start the 14th floor, so we'll go from there. But I got that, and then Kyle Martin, our buddy, our artist for the show. Everyone, you see his new art with our podcast now. He does every artwork for each season. He did a great job again on the new one. It's GameCube themed now for our 4th season as a show. We are on the Cube. But he bought me Spyro Trilogy unexpectedly. I didn't expect him to get that. So I thought, well, I won't lie. He asked if I had it, and I was like, no, I don't. I'm saving for a rainy day, and kind of gave me a hard time about it. So I kind of thought, like, well, maybe he'll get that for me since I don't have it. And he really wants me to play it. So he got me that. I have not dived into it yet. Just focused on the Luigi's Mansion and getting back to finishing Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. I'm almost done with that. But so I got that, and then Traven got me Undertale, their first figurine set. I'm getting the second one for Christmas, but I got there's 5 figurines, and they're beautiful. It's an expensive set too, and I'm really happy to have it. It looks great on my shelf, my Undertale collection section. It's fantastic. So real glad about all of that. And I wrote a couple songs the past couple weeks. And they both turned out really nice. One was a creepy one, so it's not fun to listen to because it's I designed it to be creepy and spooky to fit an atmosphere. So it's not unless you listen to horror, really freaky sounds. It's not one I will typically listen to a lot. I like to go back and listen to my songs to critique them, see if I don't like something or if I do like it or I hear something I want to add. But I wrote a boss theme and I wrote it to be really rocking and pretty at the same time. And man, I love it. I don't put out music that I hate. I'm not going to put out something and be like, yeah, it's okay. No, if I start sharing something with someone, I have confidence in it myself, and I like it, and I start getting other people's opinions and feedback. But this is one that when I send a version to people, I'll send them the short standard version, which is around 2 minutes, a little less than that. But for me, I looped it and I made it a 4-minute song. So it's because I just love listening to it. I think it's really powerful, and I've had it catchy jingle stuck in my head the past 2 weeks. So I'm really enjoying that, and I'm about to get my SoundCloud up and running so I can start put my music up there for public people to hear and listen, and continue to better myself so I can be writing video game music one day. So, and to get more known out there. But those are really the biggest things I've been radical rexing about. Cool. Well, we do actually have a voicemail. Again, 2 weeks in a row, we're getting voicemails. I want to play them real fast, and then we can respond, and we can get back to the show.
Hello, NOS crew. This is Isaac calling. I just wanted to say thank you and also apologize. Thank you for taking my call on you guys' anniversary special. I really appreciated all you guys' answer to my question on your top 5 games. I think that really speaks volumes. It's actually pretty similar in games, but that just shows how much the games really mean ones and how high ranked they are. So thank you so much for that. I think that was really awesome. Hearing you guys' top 5. I do want to apologize, though. I don't know what happened to my phone there. I didn't mean to leave you guys hanging. Getting to number 1 on what I had. So thought I'd just answer that because I don't have Twitter. I don't have anything to really give that out to you. But since the show is about nostalgia, I thought I'd just tell a quick story real quick that answers the number 1 of what I think is the best game, my personal favorite. So years ago, I can remember when I was probably only 4 or 5 years old. I can't remember how old exactly, but my father told me and my brother that we were going to go get a Super Nintendo. And back then it was more of an experience when you would go and get stuff. I mean, it still kind of is now if you prefer to do that, but it seems like a little bit of it's been lost when you order on Amazon or whatever, which is still exciting too to get something in the mail. But it was definitely an experience that I remember, obviously, even to this day. But we went down to a local Toys R Us, and of course, sadly, those have closed down. But anytime I drive by what This one was. It's actually been closed, obviously, now. I still get this memory, though. But we went to the Toys R Us, and one memory I do have about Toys R Us, back then, of course, it was more populated and not so sad if you went to a Toys R Us in the last couple of years. But there's a lot of people there. It's just exciting. As a kid, Toys R Us was just amazing. But what I remember is the games were behind the glass, like they are now. You might see them at a Walmart, but you didn't ask a person to get the game. You had these tickets in front of the game. It would have the price, it had the information, and you have to take it up front. And at our Toys R Us, it was like a pharmacy. It was a person that was like 7 feet up in the air. You had to hand them the tickets up, and then they disappear in the back room. They get whatever items that you have on that ticket. So my father said to us, though, he said, each of you guys can pick out one game apiece. And we just thought that was so cool that we got to pick our own games. That's going to be our personal game. And my father went off. He got off some sports games. I mean, he kind of went nuts and we got a bunch of different games. And I remember specifically one was Where in the World is Carmen? Hey, now screw, this is Isaac again. There must be something up with my phone. It actually disconnected that time. So I'll just wrap this up real quick, get to the point. What I was saying about the story, though, there is my number one game, though, is Super Mario World. It came with the Super Nintendo. And the reason why that was my pick is that was the first game that we played when we got home. Getting a Super Nintendo, we played that for hours. I just remember being blown away, seeing the game, just everything was new experience. And that's actually what made me come to enjoy Nintendo, enjoy games as a whole. So that's my number one is Super Mario World. So I apologize again with my phone. Don't know what the deal is. But again, thank you so much for taking our phone call. And again, guys, keep up the good work. I'd really appreciate hearing you guys' story too. So anytime you guys want to incorporate more stories, just kind of reminiscing the nostalgia of growing up and memories you have with different games. I really do enjoy hearing that too. So can keep the good work up and look forward to more and more episodes as they come up. All right, you guys take care.
Isaac, the mystery has been solved. Super Mario World is your number one game. Thank you so much for calling back, man. I was thinking about that earlier this week. I was like, oh, yeah, I wonder what his number one was. But don't worry about it. It's not your phone. Google Voice actually has a 3-minute timer. So if you go to the 3-minute mark, it automatically just shuts off. That's all it does. So you did the right thing, actually, by calling back again. When it went off this time. And man, I think you're about to say like Carmen San Diego or something. That's what I thought you were going to say, what your dad got. I'd like to hear the rest of that story, so maybe you'll call next week and tell it. But thanks for calling, Isaac, and clearing that up. And man, I tell you what, I don't remember any of that about Toys R Us. At least not the one that we had. Maybe they did it, but that sounds like a magical time. And you're right. Getting games and systems are for most people is not as special. Like, it was very special. You know me from the show. I try to make it special. When I got my Switch, I made it very special. I went and took my daughter with me. She was just a little baby at that time, but took her with me. And I'm never going to trade my Switch in, even though like it would be nice to trade it in and get a bigger battery life Switch because you can get good money for it. I'm not trading it in. You know why? Because that's the Switch I got with my little girl. Like, she was brand new to the world, and I consider it her first Nintendo. It's the first big Nintendo product I bought with her here, and I'll always cherish that. And I made it a big deal. I pre-ordered it at GameStop. I took work off. Met up with Ryan early. We went there together. We got our Switches. We got our games. We got our Amiibo. We got our Pro controllers. Magical times, and you're so right. Like it's not like that anymore. And unfortunately, I just wish people. I wish people thought like me. I guess. Why can't the world be like me? Huh? Just kidding. But like, I feel like it's just a lost thing. People just want to buy digital. They just want to just download it straight to the system. Like, that's why we lose artwork and physical cases, is because people stop showing appreciation in that, I think. And companies are saying, oh, people would just rather download it directly the day of instead of going out to get it. Or people would rather order it on Amazon, which I'm not a fan of myself. But, so thank you for calling, Isaac. Josh, you want to chime into Isaac's phone call real quick?
Yeah, actually, I do remember that at our Toys R Us. It was just nothing but like rows of papers, like he said, that you would pick up and take up front. So
Is that just the Super Nintendo days? Because I don't remember that. I didn't have Super Nintendo growing up, so.
I'm trying to remember, honestly. I'm wanting to say it was into the 64 days, but it may have cut off somewhere in the middle there. I'm not real sure. I do remember like a big demo booth sort of thing. I don't think there was actually a controller hooked up to it, but there was like different buttons you could hit to watch different videos for different games and stuff. And I remember that being a bunch of Super Nintendo ones at the time, but some of that all kind of blurs together at this point. But yeah, I remember a lot of that.
Neat. Cool. Well, Josh, I think it's time that we don't waste any more time in this episode. We've got a lot to talk about. We're about a half hour in now, and we are decided we're going to bring a game that Josh and I have been radical rexing about a lot to the table. And guys, we're talking about it. There will be some spoilers. We're not going to be all spoiler free. We're not going to try to ruin it all either, but you've been warned. We are talking about Yooka-Laylee in the Impossible Lair. All right, Josh, Yooka-Laylee, the Impossible Lair. Yeah, this game rocks. I freaking love it. It is, you guys have heard it. It's just like Donkey Kong Country. It's totally like Donkey Kong Country. You get into those levels, it feels like Donkey Kong Country. I see the Kongs running on the screen, in my mind, and because it feels the same. I mean, Playtonic, unlike the first game, Yooka-Laylee, where they try to be a spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie, this one, they've really taken a unique approach. Yes, Donkey Kong Country is definitely the inspiration for the main levels. However, there's a lot of not Donkey Kong Country stuff in this game, especially the overall world. It's more of like a Zelda top-downist part or Mario 3D world, and you do a lot of tasks in that, and that's fun too. It's fun to explore and to go about it. Josh, what were your first thoughts when you booted the game up?
I was excited from to begin with, really. Some of that, of course, is a little bit of my own bias, but yeah, from the first level on, I knew it was going to be something special. Of course, by the end of it, it's, I would say, and this is coming off of it, having it for about a month now, I would say it's my favorite game this year that I've played. And I've played a lot this year, probably more than I should have. So I think that's saying
we
something.
know you like the game.
Yeah. So, now, yeah, I don't even know where to begin with all of that. The music,
I guess
the opening cutscene, all of it.
Yeah, I think the opening cutscene is a great place to start. You start the game, and it throws you right into the middle of like chaos. It's kind of like what's happening right now? Like you are in the middle of. You're seeing Capital B. Last time you saw Capital B, if you played the first Yooka-Laylee, spoilers, like you beat him and he fell into a tome book, and he was kind of like trapped in it. And now you see him, and you're right there in the middle of this battle with him, and he's had a little bit of a wardrobe change since the last Yooka-Laylee, hasn't he?
Yeah, since then, in this Grand Tome, which is known as the Grand Stingdom, he has taken it over, and. Yeah, he looks more, I don't know what the word is for it.
Crazy?
Yeah. I wanted to say almost more like he's ready to fight than just like a businessman like he was in the first game.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like a K. Rool progression right here. Like, seriously, the first one, he's more like I'm just a big bad boss, and you can't beat me. And then you beat him. You kind of kick him in the face, and then because of that, he is now a little bit more crazier, a little bit more angrier, and he's taking Yooka-Laylee a little bit more serious now, I think. You know?
Yeah, that's where it starts you out straight in that Impossible Lair.
Yep.
Like the title says.
From the start.
So for those who don't already know, you meet him and Queen Phoebe of the Royal Sting that he has taken over. And you're pretty much guaranteed to lose here.
Oh yeah, I lost. I'm even embarrassed when I go back to like play the lair. I'm embarrassed that like I lost at the first fight because it's like it's really not that hard. Like if you know what you're doing.
I think it told me I made it 5% in that first attempt. But once it kicks you out, you really get the game going. Like it actually gets started. You get a chance to check out the world map.
Yep.
You get things a little better explained to you. The first level opens up, things like that. The first real level or chapter, as they call it in this game. So it starts off way different than most games of this type would. It gives you some context. It lets you learn the ropes a little bit even before the first level starts, and get your butt kicked one good time. But
Well, it kind of for Playtonic being a smaller team, an indie team, I feel like they did a lot of unique things that made their game stand out. For example, like just starting you off in the midst of the chaos avoids them having to have this massive, like, for example, Donkey Kong Country has a giant opening theatrical cutscene that's long, and it's very pretty and powerful and gives you the feels. Playtonic doesn't have the money for that. So they found something unique that catches your attention right away, but it doesn't cost nearly as much, and that's by throwing you directly into the Impossible Lair. Yeah, it's not really a cut scene. It's just more of like a opening scene, I guess, that's really short. And it kind of gives you a tutorial from the start to get you going on it. But it's good, man. I really like what they did. I'll straight up say, like, it's the music again. The music from the first moment you get into the game, it's intense, but man, is it good. Like, it's a David Wise track. You can definitely tell, and it sounds very good.
Oh, the title, as soon as you turn it on, is what got me. I still like just turning it on because it just makes you happy. I don't know how else to explain it.
Oh, yeah.
As it's loading up.
Definitely. When you do start the game, I think this is maybe the only little downside I can think of it to the game on my part is that it actually has kind of a long load times. Once you first enter the game, like there's like 2 cutscenes where you enter, you start it up, and then I think once you go out of the Impossible Lair and into the main overall world, I noticed that was kind of a chugging time, at least on the Switch version. After that, though, everything else is seamless. It does not take long to go from level to level to walk around the world. The 60 frames per second is there. It's quality. It both in the gameplay and in the like of the 2Ds and the overall world. But yeah, it's pretty good. So if you lose, no matter where you lose in the Impossible Lair, because most likely 99% of everybody will lose their first time through, you're thrown out, and you're thrown out right in front of Ivory Towers. So you are in the land of the first game, which is cool. It was really cool. I really like that. I love, you and I, we love connectivity. We love to see how does like the DKU all connect, from Banjo-Kazooie to Donkey Kong Country to even Playtonic's games, because yes, they are in the same universe. Playtonic has hinted at that. They've made it known. That doesn't mean they can go over to Kong Island in their games, but that they made it known that, yeah, they're all connected in the same universe, that they all coexist in the minds of Playtonic. So you're out in front of Ivory Towers, and you're with Queen Phoebe. She teaches you about the bees, and you start your first level, Josh. What'd you think about the environment first off of being in the overall world? Was it what you thought it would be like? Was it? I think it's really pretty. I really do. I was a little taken back by like just how pretty it looks. It looks better. You got the new Zelda game that just came out. This game looks it's got a cute, unique art style, but this game looks better, in my opinion. I think it looks better than Zelda.
And so it's got its own look to it, and it looks pretty similar to the first game, I'd say, in some ways. At least the style does. But it's almost like they took what was there, and with the overworld in particular, which is its own part of the game, it's almost like a third of it. They took it and almost made it sort of a top-down Zelda sort of deal. So, some things are, I don't want to say squared off, but it's more of like looking down at a map almost, like a 3D map sort of thing. But I like how it translated to that. It doesn't look like necessarily it's some big, amazing building and standing in front of you necessarily. It's not like walking around in like a 3D Zelda game or something, but it translates well to this, if that makes sense. You kind of have to see the two and compare, but I think it fits just fine.
Yeah, I think it fits pretty well. It's really pretty overall, and we'll chat. We'll come back to the overall world here. But I want to dive into just the first level. Your first experiences, what you thought of the level. What did it feel like, Josh, when you first went into it?
Yeah, so that first one, I have it actually here in front of me, Capitol Causeway. It starts out, it's one of the more, I guess, basic levels in the game, so to speak, to get you started. But it's a great way, of course, to let you learn what everything is. So, of course, it feels very similar to, if you're familiar with the Donkey Kong Country games, it lets you get a good solid feel on all of that without dealing with the Impossible Lair, of course. It's one of those good first levels, if that makes sense. So it's colorful, it's somewhat peaceful. Lets you get a good look at the Stingdom that they just recently created, things like that. I want to say it's what you would expect, but it's kind of not. It's unique in its own ways. You're going in and out of houses and buildings and stuff at some points. So it gives you a good feel for the new world that you're in. Because every level is a chapter ripped out of that grand tome, out of that book of the Royal Stingdom. And this is just sort of that homeland part of it, so to speak.
It's it definitely throws you right into the game, and it like we said from the top, it feels like Donkey Kong Country, and I love that. I think the music was good for that level, and it just looked, like you said, it's just really cartoony, eye popping. I love it. I love it so much, Josh. It's so good. Now the books, every level's kind of ripped apart. It's been there. I think there are chapters out of the actual Stingdom area. Like, it's each area in that book is wrapped up, and then Queen Phoebe takes everything out, and that's what all of your levels are. They're chapters from within that book. So you are able to that you have to go back and explore them, and you start with chapter 1.
Yeah, but actually, one thing I'd forgotten to mention, with the composers on this one, you mentioned before we've got David Wise, and we also have Grant Kirkhope helping. A lot of the tracks are actually done by some of Playtonic's own composers that they've hired that are actually officially part of Playtonic. It's Matt.
Yes.
Let me pull it up here. It's Dan Murdoch and Matt Griffin. But this first level is actually David Wise himself. And, between, I would say, the majority of the soundtrack is between Dan and Matt, but this Capitol Causeway, this first level, is a David Wise track. And the main theme is.
It's good music, man. This whole game has quality music, guys. If you're a sucker for good music like me, this game has it. It's pretty darn good. So when you collect a bee, by the way, each level has a bee. That's what the point of going through here, and the point of Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair is you got to go collect little bees. They are here to be a shield for you. Basically, they give you free hits as you try to get through this long, really tough lair. And they draw that up. You see it in the artwork after you collect a bee. HB is different. They're based on Playtonic character or people who work at Playtonic. And then they also had a contest, obviously, that a handful of people got to enter, and they got selected to be a bee in the game. And Josh's little girl he was entered by Josh himself, and they won one of the spots. So, Josh, what's your daughter's bee name in the game?
So her real name is Lillian, but her bee's name is Lil Bean, and it's Lilbee. I have to think about that, and then ANN. So everything is a bee pun, including her name.
Yeah, I love it.
And they made a little character after her because she had written a little book. We made a video for it and gave it to them.
What was that like to actually like see her character in the game for you as a parent? Like, what did that feel like?
It's pretty weird. I actually want to take that and make something out of it just because it's something really special to me, of course.
Sure.
For multiple reasons, because I love this company, and two, actually one, it's has something to do with my daughter, so that's a given.
Right.
But I love this team, and I remember playing a lot of, granted their games, and a lot of them were a part of Rare back when I was that age. When I was 5 was when Donkey Kong Country came out.
Yeah. And
I fell in love with that game. And she's 5, and now her name is in the credits of this game.
That's nuts.
So, of course, that's special.
That's super special.
So, yeah, it's super cool. And I heard they're going to add, like, a little description to it later as well. I guess just to bring it back on the topic of the bees themselves, they all have their own little descriptions.
Yeah.
To give them a little personality. And a lot of them, like her name, a lot of them are puns off of the team's names. I'm trying to think of some good examples. Darn, I should have had them pulled up here. But yeah, so she got to be a part of that too. It's cool to see her name mixed in there with things that are references to, that team in general is pretty cool.
Dude, it's surreal. Your daughter is now a real character in the Donkey Kong universe.
Yeah, thought of that. I was like, man, I've been a fan of this stuff for like 25 years now.
Yeah.
And she just walks on up in here.
I know. She's only 5 and she gets in, man. You've been alive how long and what the heck?
Look here, actually, I found a few here. So, if I can get it to stay up here. So, one of them, of course, being from DK Vine, Hive Russell. Well, it's Hyle Russell, but his bee's name is Hive Russell. So that's one of them that I just came across here first. But, here we go. Grant Kirkhope's. His is Kirkhive. Everything's off of a bee pun. I just thought those were cool. It's just one of those goofy, like, dad jokes sort of things they've pulled off since the beginning.
Yeah. All the bees too. When you complete a level, they all get they're singing a cute little bee song. My daughter and my son Jack, they love it. Every time that would come on and I'm like playing the game, they start dancing and they just I would just leave it on sometimes for like 5 minutes just so they'll dance, and it's funny when I'm like, okay, and I'll just tap A, and my daughter's like, oh no, where'd the song go? And I'm like, it just turned off. It'll come back eventually, So, but I loved that. I thought that was cool and adorable that my kids were dancing away to that little jingle. I think it's cool. I like to hear it, and it's catchy for sure. It's catchy and cute.
Yeah.
The music is just very, very. One moment that you close your eyes, you'll feel like you're in Banjo-Kazooie. Like seriously, you're in the overworld, and you go to some area. It just sounds like classic Kirkhope, and I feel like I'm playing banjo, man, and it feels great. And then modern banjo. And then you go into a level, and the music is just epic and yet beautiful at the same time. And that's what I love about David Wise is when he'll make something that just sounds so pretty, but yet so energetic. Like it just the water level, the second level of the game is one of my favorite tracks, and it's it's not really a water. It turns into a water level. We'll talk about that here in a second. But the level itself is like a factory, and It's just a very techno-y feel, I guess. But it's so good. David Wise did an awesome job. I guess that's a great segue into what you do with the levels. The levels are not just one level and that's it. Like, how do they get us to go back and revisit these levels? How do we go back and revisit these levels?
So, in a couple examples, like one of them, there is in the overworld, there is a little switch that you flip and it pours water down on the book or on that chapter. So when you go back to visit that level, it's filled with water. Another one, you flip on its side, so then you jump back in and the whole world is completely sideways. So not only does it take the layout of the original level per se and do something crazy with it, a lot of times you end up on a completely different path. So it's like a completely new level. And it's gone about in a way that I don't feel like I've seen in a game before. I know we've compared this a lot to Donkey Kong Country and things like that, but it's definitely one of those things where it does its own thing, and it does it really well.
Yeah. It's really fun. It's really unique. It really does. You'll see areas in the level like, oh, I bet I could get up there. I wonder if there's a secret up there, and like, you can't. And then you realize when you do whatever the level, how it changes when you transform it. They're like, oh, I see the dots now. That's an area for this section of the game. You collect 5 coins per level as well, and that's always fun. That's the root of you remember collecting the Kong letters. You remember finding those guys. That's what this is, and it's fun. They're uniquely hidden. I found pretty much most of them all by myself. I think there was just 1 coin that I had to look up. No, two coins I had to look up. Just could not find them, man. Could not find them, but finally did it. There's some secret exits in the world in different levels to unlock certain secrets in the main world. So you gotta find those as well too. Which I think just again adds to the meat and to the substance of this game, guys. We're not talking about anything. I mean, some of the stuff is new take, but it's stuff that we love. Like you talk about, it's kind of weird, Josh. I would argue that they did almost a better spiritual successor job with this game to DKC than they did with Banjo-Kazooie in the first one, because the first one did have some issues. Even though I loved it and I don't think it deserves the backlash it got, this game is almost like perfect, if not even better than what Donkey Kong Country has been.
Yeah, it feels more like a 4 per se, a Donkey Kong Country 4, sort of an evolution of that.
Yeah.
Then I almost would say the retro games do, and that's not anything against the retro games.
No,
I really do.
Not at all.
I really do I really do love actually Returns and Tropical Freeze. But this almost feels somewhere in between the two. And you can really tell it's a lot of that same team that worked on the original, especially the original 2 Donkey Kong Country games, I'd say.
Totally. So let's talk about some of the other mechanics in the game. We have tonics. We collect tonics. You can find them hidden in the overall overworld, and you can find hints to go look for them, and you have them in the... You can, I think, maybe... Do you buy any from Vindy at all, or is that just like the first one?
I think it's just the first one, if I remember correctly.
I can't remember right now. But yeah, you find them everywhere, and you got to hunt them down basically, and do different secrets to find them. And each one has a different unique ability with it. Either it can transform Yooka-Laylee, it can give you a special ability, it can make the game harder, or it can change the aesthetic of the levels. There's some fun like Game Boy Retro that looks like you're playing on a Game Boy. Game Boy Color. There is VHS tape, which looks like you're playing an old VHS tape from the 90s, and I love it, man. Talk about nostalgia. This game is like full of nostalgia. They have a 64-bit tonic where Yooka-Laylee are legit polygonal not so pretty looking characters from the Nintendo 64 era. It's cool. I freaking love it. I there's just so much to say about this game. Now, you collect quills. The quills are a currency. And that's something a little different for Banjo-Kazooie. Like, you collect a bunch of these, and these quills you do spend to activate the tonics. And you basically, some of the tonics, they may help you. They may give you a power upgrade and make you like a beast, but you're sacrificing how many quills you actually get at the end of the game. So like it'll start subtracting. You could collect 500 quills, and then it'll take 0.8 of those off, depending on if you have a lot of tonics on that will actually help you in the level to make it easier. However, you can make it the opposite. You can go harder. You can put on give all enemies googly eyes, which basically gives them a second hit. Or you can put a spotlight on you where the whole level's dark and it's just on you, but you got to get through that level. Or you can change the check marks where, can you get through this huge section of the level without dying before you can actually save. And that'll actually it'll increase the amount you get. So you get 500 and they multiply it by 0.5 and you get tons of quills, which is really great. Josh, I don't know, but how did you feel about the aesthetic ones? Like when the background would change, when Yooka-Laylee would change as characters?
I think some of them, like some I actually still use just on and off for fun. Some I kind of honestly would like turn on a couple times just to kind of play with, and then that's about it. Because some honestly do make it a lot harder to see, or like there's a couple that are black and white, and they are pretty cool to check out and play around with. But I kind of like to see the game for what it is originally supposed to look like. So I don't use them a whole lot, the aesthetic ones at least. I do like the VHS one, to be honest. That's probably the biggest aesthetic one I've used. That and if it counts as that, the 64 tonic one, where they're the 64 model. Yeah. I do like that one a lot. So a lot of the ones that change them I actually do like, because there's that. There's one that you can just, with the A button, you can make them change colors. Yeah. What is there? There's a shadow puppet one where they glow. There's a lot of cool ones like that I do like.
I would say along the veins of you, like I've said it before on the show, I'm a very much a traditionalist. So I would test them out and play them, but it actually really it bothered me internally. I'm like I don't want to like beat this level and it's got a disco light on. Even though it was cool, I just, at least for my first playthrough, like when I started going back to levels and that I've already played, and I'm just there to like grind for some quills or look for some coins I missed, then I started to feel more comfortable with doing that. However, I do think a lot of the background color ones, me personally, I haven't really heard people complain about this, but I found it harder to really see and to focus and concentrate. That VHS one, man, like I turned it on and I played through the level, but I was going through some stressful situations and it was not fun seeing the white, stupid lines that you would get on a VHS tape scroll up when I'm trying to focus. That made it harder and it was annoying. But I did keep it on, finish it out. But I think my top two favorite transformation ones are definitely the color one where you can change all your colors. I thought it was cool to see the different color swaps Yooka-Laylee have. And I love the glow and the dark one. I think they look the glowworm, I think it is. They really look bright and colorful, and I love that. And I like the cartoon one, too. There's one that makes it look like a Saturday morning cartoon, more hand-drawn in that style, and that was cool. So I enjoyed those overall, and yeah, you can really feel like a beast if you get the like power-up ones. Stinks that you lose your quills with those, but
it is fun to mix and match with them since you can do 3 at a time at first in the game. Later, you do unlock an option to have 4 out at a time. So like now that I've beat it, I've gone back and just mixing a bunch of them together, via different aesthetics and things that make it easier or harder, and just kind of force myself to work with what I got. Sure. So that's been fun.
Let's talk about the overall world again a little bit. So obviously we said we started out in front of Ivory Towers, the main area outside that you of the lair basically that you play the first game in. And you get to roam around. You get to obviously go back to Shipwreck Creek where Yooka-Laylee's home is. It's fun to see that area and to just revisit it. I had a fun feeling going back here. I'm like, oh man, this is where it all started. You know, it literally gave me those exact same feelings of Banjo-Tooie when I could roam around Spiral Mountain, and think back like this is where Banjo-Kazooie started. Like this is where we learned the game, the tutorials, and I got that same feeling when I would go back to this area and revisit it. It made my heart warm and happy and feel light, and I loved it. I loved every bit of that. But you get to see this map is big, Josh. It looks a little small at first, but it really expands. Everything is clouded up, and then once you get to a new area, it unlocks itself and shows it on the map. And you got to see so much more around just outside of the main area that you played in the first game, which I thought was really cool. And I think that would be really, really awesome if they could explore those areas more in like a 3D platformer setting. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we get to go revisit those areas, but they're more fleshed out and they're more open, like a 3D world sandbox.
Oh yeah, and I think this opens that opportunity up in the future more. It's building more of the world around it, so that's cool.
Absolutely. But no, there's just a lot of mystery, a lot of secret passages to find. Like we said, there's secret passage levels in the games to come out at a different area that you can't reach just by trying to get to it in the overworld. You have to go through a level to find the secret path. All that stuff is fun and unique and cool. You even find some of the battalions are hidden in the main world, and you got to find them that way too. So Josh, like I said, there's not, without spoiling the game in general, there's a lot here to this game. This game really, I'm not surprised that it's so good. I'm really happy that it's so good, performing well, it runs well on all systems. Let's just recap real quick, what the Impossible Lair is like a little bit. Because it's hard. It's long and hard, and you don't get to restart you don't have any checkpoints. If you lose, you start over. You get to the very end of you get to the very end, the last fight, and lose, you start over. And it takes you maybe, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, would you say, to get to the end of that level?
Yeah. When I had my successful attempt, it was my 7th attempt through it. I think I didn't completely clock it, but I think it was about 20 minutes. And usually before that, if I'd fail, it was around 15 minutes or so. So it takes some time, but it's one of those things where if something's like unfairly difficult, it can usually end up causing me to get really frustrated, and it just doesn't seem worth it. I won't call out any old platformers, but there's a couple that come to mind. But this one, I don't feel like it ever really got there. A lot of what I was doing wrong, I felt like it was more my fault. It didn't feel so cheap, and it just felt like this big, really cool goal to be shooting for like the whole time. Like everything you earned, all the battalion members you've gotten to help you, like all led to that. And it was just always it was one thing I don't think we mentioned. You can go to the Impossible Lair at any point during the game, so you can go right back in at the beginning, or if you're halfway through and have 22 bees or 48 bees, however many, you can go back in and give it a shot. So when I beat it, I had all the bees and all the help I could get.
Same.
But yeah, I actually really liked the concept of it and how it was handled. Even the difficulty of it, I felt like it was about just right. I don't think I would want it any more difficult than it was, but I definitely would not want it to be too easy either. So I feel like it hit a good balance.
It's hard, but you guys, if you played any Donkey Kong Country games and even some tough Mario levels, you guys just have to have the mindset, you guys and gals, that you're going to die a lot. like you will die over and over again, and you just have to learn it. And that's really how you do it. Expect to die, have some patience with yourself and grace with yourself and patience with the level, and you will slowly get better, and you'll eventually master it, and you'll be like, that was easy. But you wherever time you pass your part where you made it before, there's a giant Yooka-Laylee balloon heads of them, and it's just like saying that's as far as you made it last time, which I thought was cool and clever and cute to just kind of point out like, hey, you were here, congratulations, you're past here. I always try to challenge myself to get through in each area better than the time I did before. Like the amount of bees I've lost, so I try to like at least get through the first section without losing 10 bees. That I really hope I don't lose 10 bees, so sometimes I'm successful and sometimes I'm not, but overall, guys, this game is great. I'm sad to say that currently, at least the last time I checked, this game is not in the top 30 on the eShop, and I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. I think it's a bogus excuse when people are like, there's just a lot of good games out right now. No, bullcrap. Like, sorry, I may be sounding a little extreme here, but it's like, it's a good game. Don't tell me like because Dragon Quest XI's out that you can't go get this game. People buy games all the time. This game, if it was a Donkey Kong Country game, it would have sold at least 2 million by now. Guarantee it. It would have sold a lot. But I've seen more complaints that people are like, I don't trust them from after their first game, which wasn't that bad of a game in the first place. Wasn't bad of a game. The Switch version's awesome, and it fixed a lot of the issues from launch. But because of the rough start that they had from their first game, people are overlooking this game. Just they're writing it off. And Josh and I have witnessed that from just multiple accounts, just watching people online. We don't even have to engage. We just see it. And it's really sad to me. People are missing out, and I really hope Playtonic can really get their sales boosted, especially on Nintendo. Like, that's their main crowd. They've said that their main audience is Nintendo. And guys, we strongly encourage you to go get Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. Whether you have it on a Switch, whether you don't have a Switch or not, like, if you have one of the main systems, go get it. It really is good. You won't be disappointed. We promise. It's going to be fabulous. Josh, anything else you want to add before we close out the show here?
Not a whole lot to that, really. I agree with everything you said there. I could go on and on about it. I do think it shouldn't be ignored. And, yeah, it kind of irks me, too, that I haven't seen it talked about more than it has been, and I think it deserves more than that. I think there's a little bit of a... I don't want to sound negative, so I'm trying to think of the correct word to say here. I think it's popular to hate on that team, perhaps, online. Yeah. And some of that is just kind of bogus. So
it is bogus.
I recommend checking it out, especially if you're into those old platformers. If you're into the old school Rare games, of course. I do feel like it was made for crazy fans like us, but I feel like even if you didn't grow up during that time, I think it's something really special, and I think you can enjoy it. I definitely think it's worth your time. The reviews have been great. So yeah, check it out. It's a lot. Heck, it's even cheaper than a lot of the full price games.
For sure.
Definitely something that shouldn't be overlooked, and I hope that changes over time. Hopefully here coming up on the Christmas season and everything that picks up.
That'd be cool.
You know, I like to get the word out on it. I do think you're missing out if you're overlooking it.
For sure. Well, guys, we're going to wrap up the show here, and Ryan wasn't here, so we didn't do our due diligence at the start, but I'll try to do some due diligence here. We haven't opened up our hotline a lot in recent times, but we want to start getting back to that. If you don't have our hotline, you can save this to your phone. It's 317-969-5690. Again, 317-969-5690. That's our hotline. You can call us anytime. It doesn't even have to be about an episode. If you have any questions, you just want to be involved in the show, have a nice comment to say, call us, leave it. We'll play on the episode, one of our episodes, and we'll love to respond. We love getting voicemails from everybody. And yeah, you can find us on Twitter and on Facebook. I almost said MySpace. Oh my goodness, we do not have a MySpace. And on Instagram, go look for us. Nintendo Nostalgia IN is usually our handles. Around Nintendo _NOS is on Twitter. Find us and find us personally. You know, you can find Josh and I. Look us up by our names and Ryan. And we would love to add you. I love you in the community. Guys, if we have any new listeners as well, please go give us a 5-star rating on iTunes and leave a nice comment about us. That helps us grow the show. We really want to continue to just grow this podcast. It's something that we do. We don't get paid to do this, you know, so it's always a sacrifice away from our families and our time and to do this because we love to do it and we love to put smiles in other people's faces. So if you could go out, help spread the word of the show, get us the bigger community grows, the better we'll get, and it'll help us out tremendously. Do that. So 5-star rating and write us a comment if you don't mind, if you can. So, but everyone have a blessed one. We will definitely be back next week, and we'll be playing with some more power. Have a good one.
See y'all later.